Welcome again to another lesson in my New Testament is Fake series on the Yalak Emet channel, or Rethinking the Torah in YouTube, Patreon, and Twitter. This lesson today is titled, They Watched Him Die. It is October 19, 2019. The apostles who taught in the New Testament, all their teachings, all of their doctrines were from the 17th parallel of hell. I'm going to read from Matthew chapter 27, verse 50 to 55. This is dealing with the crucifixion. Jesus, when he had cried again with a loud voice, yielded up the ghost. And behold, the veil of the temple was rent in twain from the top to the bottom. And behold, the veil of the temple was rent in twain from the top to the bottom, and the earth did quake, and the rocks rent. And the graves were opened, and many bodies of the saints which slept arose, and came out of the graves after his resurrection, and went into the holy city, and appeared unto many. Now, when the centurion and they that were with him watching Jesus saw the earthquake and those things that were done, they feared greatly, saying, Truly, this was the Son of God. And many women were there, beholding afar off, which followed Jesus from Galilee, ministering unto him. So it's letting you know here that a lot of people watched him die, whether they were believers or not. They all stood there and watched him die. And that includes certainly the disciples, because even those obviously who were crucifying him saw him die as well. So the disciples saw the crucifixion. How can you watch the crucifixion and the dying of your God? How can people watch their God die in front of them and ever find faith again? Should one's faith die when their God is dying in front of them? What if he didn't die on a cross? What if he was deathly ill? They were nursing him, putting some warm cloth on his forehead and so on, and taking his temperature, feeding him some soup, and wrapping him up all the time to make sure he remains warm, stuff like that. And after days and days, he keeps slipping away. They eventually just watch him die in that bed. You see, it would be no different to sit there day after day and watch him die. To sit there day after day and watch him die, than to stand there and watch him die quicker on a cross. So that the most powerful man on earth at the time and in the whole cosmos, because they say that he said he's got all the power and he made everything. But he could only last just a couple hours, just a short time on the cross. How would you find faith after that? How can you go on having faith while your God and Savior is dead? See, this is one other way by which I know the New Testament is fake. The Bible shows that they still had faith even while he was dead, because they carried themselves in faith. Even their mourning, their gathering together, was still about having faith. Many teach that Jesus is the God Yahweh of the Old Testament. Well, what power kept their faith alive for 3 days and 3 nights while The God of the Old Testament, who became a man, died on Calvary. And if you try to separate the two somewhat, then any part of the Godhead that dies means still that God died. What powers your faith after you watch your God die? If man was able to sustain his faith for 3 days and nights, while God, the source of all religious faith, lay in a tomb, then the power of faith did not come from your God. Because when he dies, your faith should have died. Because God is the one who powers your faith. Your faith is resident in you. And it was started by you when you chose to think and believe something about this particular God who ended up at Calvary. So this faith that originated in you and was sustained by you so that you can believe in a God whether he lives or dies was what you were dealing with. This faith. This is why other nations believe in stories of dead gods for thousands of years. Your God is kept alive in your mind, the way they keep theirs alive in their minds. Yahweh and Jesus are gods of imagination, like the gods of the nations of the whole earth. They watched him die, and they could still have faith. How is that possible? When you kick back and relax in a quiet time and you think of that, and you ask yourself, how is it possible to still have faith after you watch your God die by the hands of mortal men, sinful men, not even the righteous who killed him, but it was the sinful men who killed him. And you watch your God take his last breath, your Savior take his last breath. Then does the idea of saving slip away from you? Does the idea of that being that is all powerful slip away from you? The source of your power, of your religious fervor and faith and so on, just died in front of you. But you still continue to be powered with faith for 3 days and 3 nights. And you don't think that is a strange story written on the pages of the New Testament? Sometimes you watch a space movie and they shut off all the air, or the air escapes because the ship in outer space, the door was broken off or a window got cracked or something. They can't keep living because what sustains them is now gone. All the air is gone. Jesus made everything, and without him was not anything made. So the one who makes everything is gone. He died on that cross. And the thing that connects you to him, faith in him, faith by which you received him, as you walked on all those cobblestones with him for how many years until they arrested him? The one who makes your faith activate between you and him is dead. So everything connected to him is dead. The only thing left is just a memory about him. How do you keep that faith alive for 3 days and 3 nights? When the source of faith is gone after you watch him die, how does faith survive? Because 3 days would be an incredibly long time to sit around thinking that your God and Savior and Creator just died. The New Testament is fake.